that I would necessarily have. I think it is a moment where you need to have that discussion. But I would just underline that the monarchy provides, with the Constitution, a degree of long-term.
Princess Anne has never been one to hold back, especially when it comes to the dynamics within the royal family. Over the years, her subtle reactions and pointed comments have often hinted at her feelings toward Camilla Parker Bowles, long before the world fully embraced Camilla's role in the monarchy. From icy body language to sly remarks, Princess Anne may have been sending out quiet signals about her true thoughts on Camilla's rise. In this video, we'll explore 15 key moments where Anne's actions may have offered a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the royal drama that would later unfold. Princess Anne's concern for the royal family's reputation and image. Princess Anne has always been known for her strong sense of duty, loyalty, and dedication to the British monarchy. Her commitment to preserving the royal family's image is well documented and has often placed her at odds with others in the family, particularly when it comes to the choices made by her brother, King Charles. Over the years, Anne has consistently expressed her concern for the public perception of the monarchy and its members. This is especially evident in her feelings towards Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman who would eventually become Queen Consort. From the very beginning, Princess Anne expressed her reservations about King Charles's relationship with Camilla, particularly because of the affair that had been widely publicized during Charles's marriage to Princess Diana. Anne was deeply aware of the significance that public opinion held in the eyes of the monarchy, and she feared that embracing Camilla would do irreparable harm to the royal family's reputation. In a time when the monarchy's image was under increasing scrutiny, particularly after the tumultuous years of Diana's marriage to Charles, Anne's concerns were rooted in the idea that Camilla's involvement with the royal family would only serve to perpetuate negative media coverage and stir up old controversies. The public's emotional connection to the royal family. Princess Anne understood that the monarchy was not just an institution, but an entity with a deep emotional connection to the people. The British royal family had long been a symbol of dignity, tradition, and moral authority. Anne was keenly aware of the public's attachment to certain members of the royal family, particularly Princess Diana, whose tragic death had left an indelible mark on the nation. The public had invested emotionally in Diana, and to them she represented grace, charity, and the ideal of royal duty. For Anne, any action that risked undermining this image could have severe consequences for the monarchy. Camilla Parker Bowles, due to her controversial past and involvement in the affair with Charles, was not seen by the public as a sympathetic figure. In fact, her relationship with Charles was often viewed as a betrayal of Diana and everything she stood for. Anne, understanding this emotional connection, feared that elevating Camilla to a more prominent role within the royal family would alienate a significant portion of the British public, many of whom were still devoted to the memory of Princess Diana. The decision to make Camilla Queen Consort would undoubtedly stir up emotions and create divisions between the royal family and the public, making Anne's concerns about the long-term ramifications of such a move all the more valid. Princess Anne's early disapproval of the relationship. From the very start, Princess Anne made her disapproval of the relationship between Charles and Camilla known. As someone who had always taken her role as a member of the royal family seriously, Anne could not ignore the potential consequences of an affair that had become the subject of much public attention. While Charles had openly acknowledged his relationship with Camilla, Anne had a much more reserved view of the situation. In her eyes, the affair was not just a personal matter, but one that could significantly tarnish the image of the monarchy. Anne, who had long been an advocate for maintaining the royal family's dignity, believed that continuing the affair in the public eye would only further damage the family's reputation. She was particularly concerned about how the monarchy, already under the intense glare of the media, would be perceived if the public saw Camilla as a permanent fixture in Charles's life. Anne's convictions were shaped by a clear understanding of the moral authority that the monarchy needed to uphold, and she knew that the royal family's reputation was fragile. She believed that introducing Camilla into the royal fold would open the door for controversy and scandal that would be hard to escape. Questioning Camilla's loyalty to the royal family. Princess Anne has always been known for her fierce loyalty to the monarchy. She values duty above all else and expects the same level of dedication from those around her. This loyalty extends to her concerns about Camilla's commitment to the royal family. While Camilla had a long-standing relationship with Charles, Anne was unsure whether she could truly trust her. She questioned Camilla's ability to adapt to the royal lifestyle, which demanded not only public scrutiny, but also a high level of personal sacrifice. Anne, who had spent her entire life in the royal spotlight, was acutely aware of the pressure and expectations that came with being part of the royal family. She had seen firsthand the immense toll that being in the public eye could take on individuals, especially those who were not prepared for the constant attention and obligations. Anne wondered if Camilla, with her more private background, would be able to handle the intense scrutiny and responsibilities that came with a higher profile role. She was also concerned about Camilla's past, particularly the affair with Charles during his marriage to Diana. Anne feared that Camilla's history could reflect poorly on both Charles and the royal family, undermining the monarchy's credibility. Concerns about Camilla's role as queen consort. As the possibility of Camilla becoming queen consort became more likely, Princess Anne's concerns deepened. She understood that the role of queen consort was not just ceremonial, but carried significant responsibilities, including representing the monarchy on the global stage. Anne was not convinced that Camilla was the right person to fulfill these duties. Given Camilla's controversial history, Anne feared that the public would never fully accept her in such a prominent role. The queen consort is expected to embody the values of the monarchy and serve as a figurehead who represents the royal family both at home and abroad. Anne questioned whether Camilla, with her past and the public's ongoing skepticism, could ever truly fulfill these duties. In Anne's mind, the risk of continued public backlash was too great, and she was adamant that the monarchy could not afford to place someone with such a contentious history in a position of such importance. She feared that Camilla's presence in the royal family would only perpetuate divisions and damage the monarchy's standing with the public. The public versus private persona conflict. Princess Anne's concerns about Camilla went beyond just her public image. Anne was well aware of the vast difference between Camilla's private persona and her potential role as a royal figure. While Camilla had managed to maintain a relatively low profile in certain private circles, Anne knew that stepping into the public eye as a member of the royal family would expose her to intense scrutiny. The British press, known for its ruthless coverage of the monarchy, would likely subject Camilla to an unprecedented level of attention, and Anne was unsure whether she could handle the pressure. Anne, who had spent decades in the public eye, understood the relentless nature of media scrutiny. She was deeply familiar with the challenges that came with being constantly under the watchful eye of the media, and she was concerned that Camilla, who had lived much of her life outside of the spotlight, would not be prepared for the onslaught of criticism that would come with being in a more public role. Anne feared that Camilla's ability to maintain her composure and uphold the royal family's values would be tested in ways she was not prepared for. Royal family tensions, potential for divisions and factions. Princess Anne's concerns about Camilla's role in the royal family extended beyond her relationship with Charles and his children. Anne also anticipated that tensions would rise among other members of the royal family as well. She understood that the monarchy was a tightly knit institution, and she feared that Camilla's growing prominence could lead to divisions within the family. Anne, who had always valued the unity of the royal family, was concerned that Camilla's presence would strain relationships, particularly with members like the Queen and Prince Philip. Anne's caution was rooted in her belief that the cohesion of the royal family was vital to the survival of the monarchy. She knew that the monarchy's strength lay in its ability to present a united front, and she worried that introducing Camilla into the family dynamic would create factions and divisions that could undermine the monarchy's stability. Anne's predictions about the tensions that could arise were not unfounded, as the royal family has long been known for its internal struggles and rivalries. In conclusion, Princess Anne's concerns about Camilla Parker Bowles were rooted in her deep sense of duty and loyalty to the monarchy. Anne feared that embracing Camilla would damage the royal family's reputation, strain relationships within the family, and exacerbate tensions with the public. Her warnings, while often understated, were grounded in a clear understanding of the challenges facing the monarchy and the complex dynamics within the royal family. Princess Anne's concerns, the monarchy's reputation at stake. Princess Anne, the second child and only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, has often been regarded as one of the most steadfast and duty-bound members of the British royal family. Known for her no-nonsense approach to royal duties and her dedication to preserving the monarchy's image, Anne has long been concerned about the delicate balance between public opinion and the royal family's continued relevance and respectability. This was never more evident than in her repeated and often vocal warnings to her brother, King Charles III, regarding his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. While the public is aware of the enduring relationship between King Charles and Camilla, fewer are acquainted with the numerous instances where Princess Anne attempted to caution her brother about the potential consequences of making Camilla an official part of the royal family. The history between the monarchy and Camilla is fraught with controversy, particularly when one considers the role she played in the breakdown of Charles's marriage to Princess Diana. For Anne, these personal dynamics were not just a matter of family drama. They were a matter of royal duty, and her warnings were driven by a deep concern for the monarchy's survival and reputation. The public image dilemma. From the outset of King Charles's relationship with Camilla, Princess Anne was deeply concerned about the public perception of their connection. Having spent her life in the public eye, Anne was acutely aware of how closely the British royal family was scrutinized by the media and the public. While she understood the complexities of human relationships, Anne was highly protective of the royal family's image. The monarchy, for her, was more than a personal institution. It was a symbol of national unity and continuity, and its public perception was paramount. Anne, who had always prided herself on her commitment to duty, was worried that any association with Camilla would tarnish the monarchy's carefully crafted image of tradition, dignity, and respectability. She knew that Camilla's past, particularly her involvement in the affair that led to the collapse of Charles and Diana's marriage, would be a significant obstacle. Despite the eventual acceptance of Camilla into royal circles, Anne believed that the British public, many of whom still harbored deep affection for Diana, would be unwilling to fully embrace Camilla as a royal consort. In Princess Anne's eyes, public opinion was not something that could be easily ignored or dismissed. The monarchy's credibility depended on its ability to remain above the scandals and dramas of the everyday world. Anne was particularly aware of the emotional connection the public had with specific royal figures, especially Diana, whose tragic death in 1997 had left a void that Camilla could never fill. While Charles had moved on in his personal life, the public's emotional attachment to Diana remained a potent force. In light of this, Anne felt that putting Camilla in the spotlight could not only harm the royal family's reputation, but could also alienate a large portion of the public who would never forgive Camilla for her role in the dissolution of Charles and Diana's marriage. Loyalty and trust issues. One of the central concerns Princess Anne had regarding Camilla was the issue of loyalty, both to her brother and to the monarchy as a whole. Anne was known for her strong sense of duty and her unyielding loyalty to the royal family, and she expected the same from those who were closely associated with them. She had witnessed firsthand the immense pressure that came with royal life, and she was unsure whether Camilla, with her tumultuous history, could bear such a burden. More than just loyalty to Charles, Anne questioned whether Camilla's true allegiance lay with the monarchy or with herself. Given Camilla's previous relationships and the scandalous nature of her affair with Charles while he was married to Diana, Anne was understandably hesitant to place her faith in someone with such a complicated past. Could Camilla be trusted to carry out the duties expected of a royal consort? Or would her history of affairs and media attention continue to undermine the monarchy's credibility? Camilla's role as queen consort. As the years went by, the possibility of Camilla becoming queen consort became increasingly likely, and Anne's concerns about her brother's relationship deepened. Anne was never one to shy away from her opinions, and when it became apparent that Charles was serious about his relationship with Camilla, she raised her concerns about the potential impact on the monarchy. While Anne understood that the relationship had persisted for many years, she was unconvinced that Camilla was a suitable candidate for the role of queen consort. The queen consort, in Anne's view, was more than just the spouse of the king. She was the embodiment of the monarchy's values and the representative of Britain on the global stage. Given Camilla's controversial past and the ongoing public skepticism surrounding her, Anne believed that Camilla would never be fully accepted in the role. In her mind, Camilla's history would always be a barrier to her complete integration into the royal fold. Anne worried that the monarchy could never afford to have a figure so contentious in such a high-profile position. The public persona versus private reality. In addition to her concerns about loyalty and trust, Princess Anne was wary of Camilla's ability to handle the intense public scrutiny that came with being a royal. While Camilla had maintained a relatively low profile for much of her life, Anne recognized that becoming a public figure as part of the royal family would place her under an unrelenting spotlight. The British press was notorious for its ruthless treatment of public figures, and Anne feared that Camilla, who had lived much of her life out of the media's gaze, might not be prepared for the level of scrutiny that would come with being a royal. For Anne, the potential for public backlash was not just about a few negative headlines. It was about the long-term damage to the royal family's reputation. The media's focus on Camilla's past would undoubtedly be magnified, and Anne was concerned that the constant comparisons to Diana would overshadow Camilla's attempts to perform her royal duties. She had seen how the media could turn even the most minor misstep into a major scandal, and she feared that the monarchy could not withstand another crisis of image. The impact on King Charles and the royal family. As Anne observed the unfolding events, she became increasingly concerned about the impact that Charles's relationship with Camilla would have on his position as future king. Anne understood the importance of maintaining the monarchy's reputation, and she feared that the public's negative view of Camilla could undermine Charles's credibility as the rightful heir to the throne. In the years following Diana's death, Anne was particularly sensitive to the complexities of public opinion, especially when it came to the legacy of the late Princess of Wales. Anne warned her brother that continuing his relationship with Camilla could have serious consequences not only for his personal reputation, but also for the future of the monarchy. She was well aware that any misstep in the public eye could have lasting repercussions, and she believed that the monarchy's stability was at risk if Charles continued to align himself so publicly with someone as polarizing as Camilla. Anne's warnings were not based on personal animosity, but on her deep understanding of the fragile nature of public perception and the potential harm that could be done to the royal family's long-standing reputation. Diana's legacy and the family's emotional tension. Beyond the concerns about public perception, Princess Anne was also deeply aware of the emotional toll that Camilla's presence could have on the royal family, particularly on Diana's children, Prince William and Prince Harry. Anne, like the rest of the royal family, had witnessed the grief that followed Diana's untimely death. She knew how much her nephews had suffered from the loss of their mother, and she feared that introducing Camilla into their lives as a stepmother figure could further complicate their already strained relationships with their father. Anne's concern was not only for the emotional well-being of William and Harry, but also for the potential rifts that could form within the family. She saw how fragile family relationships could be, especially in the wake of such a traumatic loss. Anne was concerned that the presence of Camilla, particularly in such a high-profile role, could exacerbate the tensions between Charles and his sons, creating a situation that could have long-term consequences for the monarchy's unity. Princess Anne's concerns over Camilla. A cautious royal perspective. Princess Anne, the second child and only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, has always been known for her straightforwardness and sharp intellect. She has rarely shied away from offering her candid opinions, especially when it came to matters concerning the monarchy. Over the years, Princess Anne has consistently demonstrated her commitment to the royal family's legacy, and her concerns regarding the relationship between her brother, King Charles, and Camilla Parker Bowles were no exception. Anne, who had witnessed firsthand the immense pressure and scrutiny that the royal family faced from the public and the media, was highly cautious about the potential consequences of this relationship. Her warnings, steeped in both personal experience and royal duty, focused on the potential fallout from the affair, the challenges of public perception, and the delicate balance between personal happiness and the royal family's public image. The media's ruthless gaze. One of Princess Anne's most significant concerns was the unrelenting scrutiny the press would subject the royal family to if Camilla were to become more involved in royal life. Having grown up under the spotlight herself, Anne knew all too well how the press could transform even the smallest details into scandalous headlines. She had seen how the media had relentlessly hounded her mother, Queen Elizabeth II, as well as her brother, King Charles, throughout their lives, and she understood the danger of becoming entangled in another media storm. The royal family had already been through the ringer when the public fallout from Charles's marriage to Diana led to a divorce, which was extensively covered by the press. This scandal had permanently shaped public perceptions of Charles and, by extension, of the monarchy. Princess Anne therefore feared that Camilla's increased visibility would reignite this media frenzy, further damaging the royal family's reputation. In particular, Anne was deeply concerned about the way the press might frame Camilla's involvement in the royal family. Camilla had long been vilified in the British press, particularly due to her role in the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage. The press had relentlessly labeled her as the other woman, a characterization that stuck in the public's mind for years. Despite the passage of time, Anne understood that the media had a long memory, and the British public was unlikely to forget Camilla's past. She feared that any attempt by Charles to publicly include Camilla would only bring the ghosts of the past back to life, casting a shadow over both his reputation and the royal family's public image. the risk of public resentment. Anne's caution was not only rooted in the practical implications of media coverage, but also in a deep understanding of the public sentiment. She knew that many people had never forgiven Camilla for her involvement in the royal scandal, and she was acutely aware that the British public had a particular affection for Princess Diana, who had become a beloved figure worldwide. Diana's tragic death in 1997 had only heightened her legacy, and Anne was worried that pushing Camilla into the limelight too soon could be perceived as disrespectful to Diana's memory. In the aftermath of Diana's passing, public opinion was still heavily swayed by the emotional attachment people felt to her. Anne recognized the delicate timing of such a transition, one that required the monarchy to navigate not just the loss of a beloved public figure, but also the complex feelings surrounding Diana's untimely death. The danger, as Anne saw it, was that Charles's relationship with Camilla could further alienate the public, many of whom viewed Camilla as an interloper. Anne feared that pushing forward with their relationship without sufficient consideration for the public's feelings would exacerbate existing tensions and could lead to widespread resentment. This could, in turn, weaken the monarchy's position at a time when it was already vulnerable, following Diana's death and the subsequent media frenzy. A royal family in transition, Princess Anne's concerns were not only about the press and public perception, but also about the emotional and personal dynamics within the royal family. She had long been protective of her brother Charles, and she was wary of how his relationship with Camilla could affect their family relationships. The royal family has always been a complex web of personal ties, responsibilities, and expectations, and Anne feared that Camilla's presence could further complicate these dynamics. Anne had always valued stability within her family and was wary of anything that could disrupt the balance, especially if it came at the cost of family harmony. Anne had a somewhat distant relationship with Diana, but she always maintained a polite and respectful demeanor towards her sister-in-law. However, she was acutely aware of Diana's emotional fragility, particularly in the wake of her tumultuous marriage to Charles. Anne was concerned about the toll that a continued relationship between Charles and Camilla would take on Diana, both personally and publicly. She understood that, if the affair were to become public knowledge, it would likely result in scandal, which would only exacerbate Diana's struggles and further destabilize the royal family. The danger of a hasty marriage. As the possibility of Charles and Camilla's marriage became more imminent, Princess Anne's warnings grew more urgent. She feared that marrying Camilla would not only reignite old controversies, but also create new ones. She questioned whether it was the right time for such a commitment, given the still raw emotions surrounding Diana's death and the ongoing challenges facing the monarchy. Anne understood that the British public was still mourning Diana, and she was deeply concerned that a hasty marriage to Camilla could be seen as a betrayal of Diana's memory. For Anne, the timing of such a decision was crucial. Rushing into a marriage with Camilla without allowing sufficient time for the public to heal from Diana's loss could be catastrophic for the royal family's image. Her concerns were not unfounded. Even years after Charles and Camilla's marriage, the couple's relationship has continued to be a topic of discussion, with many questioning whether the public would ever fully embrace Camilla as queen consort. Anne's foresight in recognizing the potential long-term consequences of this marriage speaks to her deep understanding of the monarchy's role in British society and her commitment to preserving its dignity and respect.